So you see how big this table is? It's ends there. The Steam Deck is like half the length of this tray table. So ever since the Steam Deck was originally announced, it always seemed like a super appealing product to me. I was, used to portable, flexible gaming with the Nintendo Switch, so having something that could basically do the same thing, but with PC games, it just seemed like a dream product for me. Like, yes, I do play a lot of, first-party Nintendo games and stuff, but I do also play third-party games as well, or just indie games. I tend to gravitate towards Nintendo, but I will play games if I think they look fun. And yes, I did rebuy a lot of my Steam games on the Switch just to have them in a portable form factor, like years before the deck was announced. Although, I was very hesitant on actually pulling the trigger on one until now. I don't know, just for one reason or another, it just never felt like the right time, whatever that entailed. But then last year, the Steam Deck OLED was announced and released, and after using the OLED Switch since last year, I have just had such an affinity with OLED displays, like, especially, since getting the Google Pixel 7, which I actually tried recording this video on originally, and it just kept getting too hot, and it was just lowering the frame rate, so I switched to my actual camera. The OLED screen of the Pixel 7 just felt like such a stark upgrade from the phone that I had before. And along with getting a new computer monitor, I've been rather spoiled when it comes to displays for the past couple years. So I didn't want to settle for the LCD Steam Deck, even though they were on sale. Yeah, I just wanted the OLED. However, they did actually add in some improvements to the OLED Steam Deck compared to the LCD. Like, the screen itself is actually 90 Hz, as opposed to the 60 of the LCD. Now, you're probably not going to be able to take advantage of that for a lot of games, probably only indie games or just games that don't use as much resources, but just the fact that it's there and it's an option is nice. This also has a much better battery life, and it has a better Wi-Fi chip, like it's actually compatible with Wi-Fi 6 or 6E, whatever that newer one is. The base storage options are bigger, and this also has like better cooling and stuff on the inside, and it's actually like a little bit lighter than the LCD Steam Deck, which makes sense because this is a handheld console. And when I tell you that the first time that I picked this up, the curves just melted right into my hands. My middle and ring fingers landed perfectly on the back buttons, and everything just feels superb. It's obviously a contrast from the Nintendo Switch that is... it's thin by design. It has to accommodate several different play styles, so they made the concessions that they did in order to get the functionality that it has. But there's a reason why there is such a big market for making the Switch more comfortable to play in handheld mode. Whereas with the Steam Deck, you really don't need any of that. Now, yeah, there are companies out there that make, like, grip cases and stuff for the Steam Deck, but, like, why? This thing is already, like, perfect for, like, most people. I have pretty average size hands, and veiny at that, and so basically everything just works perfectly for me. Like, bounce between the sticks and the buttons and the D-pad, can even like reach down for the trackpads. Although I will say that it does feel a little bit weird to jump my pointer finger up to hit the bumper. And also, another thing that I ended up dealing with within the first like little bit of having the Steam Deck has to do with the face buttons. whenever I press it and kind of go at an angle, it feels like it almost catches on the casing, to the point where this X button did actually catch under the casing. I did bring that up with Valve customer support, and to their credit, they did actually offer to initiate the RMA process for this to get a replacement unit, but since then, I've actually just kept this unit, and it feels like it has lessened quite a bit, so I think just with more use, it's going to kind of wear out that plastic casing. It's not great that a new thing even has an issue like that. Again, it is starting to lessen. Probably the only other issue that I've had with the Steam Deck is that it does not like my home Wi-Fi. It likes my work Wi-Fi and any other like public Wi-Fis that I connect it to, but let's go ahead and just wake it up. And, you know, let's just take a look at the Wi-Fi indicator up here. You know what? I'm just gonna sit here and time this. Like, yeah, eventually it will connect. It just seems like it sometimes takes way longer than it needs to. Okay, well, I'm not gonna actually wait. I'm not actually gonna wait this whole time. I need to keep moving. This very much feels like it is meant to be only ever used as a portable handheld device. Outside of, you know, the ergonomics, it comes with its own case. Oh, there we go. It finally did it, of course, after I put the case in front of the camera. You can already see that this is kind of marked up some because, like, I do actually put this in my work backpack, but you know, it's just a case. That's the life that it signs up for. The case with the 512 gigabyte OLED, I mean, it is the basic case, like, it holds the Steam Deck, but I mean, that's pretty much it. There's no real additional storage for anything outside of this undercompartment that you could put the AC adapter in here, but because the AC adapter that comes with the OLED is actually a couple feet longer, the cable is, than the LCD, and this case, I think, is just the same case as the LCD, just with a different decal on top. Oh, I was like, what is that noise? It's me touching the screen. Speaking of touching, yeah, I'm not gonna store the AC adapter back here. It just doesn't seem practical. So yes, this is a PC in a handheld console form factor, and they've opted for this interface to essentially be a modified Steam Big Picture mode that, at this point now, this interface is just what the Steam Big Picture mode is. And, you know, as someone that has grown up with portable gaming, I mean, before I had this DS Lite, I had a Game Boy Advance, but the Nintendo DS did introduce me to kind of a whole different paradigm of how to approach gaming on the go, in the sense that, you know, you can be playing whatever game, and then, oh, if you need to set it down, you just close it, and it goes into sleep mode. And then, at some later point, you open it up, and you can continue the game that you were playing however long ago. I love that feature on not just the DS, but also the 3DS and also the Switch. It is a very underrated feature that more people need to use. Like, for the past several days, I have had Zelda Tears of the Kingdom just suspended in sleep mode on the Switch. Like, I've had this running for days at this point, and I can still, boot it up and, continue playing just like nothing. And I bring that up because the Steam Deck has sleep mode. Let me just, boot up Hi-Fi Rush here. You could be in the middle of a game and then just be like, you know what? Put it to sleep. I need to go do something else. And then when you are able to play again, you just pick it back up and continue where you left off. Like, oh my gosh. Being able to save and, suspend PC games it just unlocks a whole nother world of possibilities for me. That being said, you're not able to put games or anything downloading when this is in sleep mode. Yes, this is very much a PC in the form factor of a handheld console, and you really can't put a PC to sleep and still expect it to download games. They're just not really designed to do that. So if you want to download anything, you just have to sit here on the download screen and just wait for it to download. One thing that I especially like to do when it comes to sleep mode is make sure that I save right beforehand before I put the thing to sleep. That is so then I know that when I go back to the system, I know that I've already saved, so if I still want to continue that game, I can just continue like normal, or if I want to jump to something different, then I just close out of the game that was suspended and boot into whatever game I want to play next. I like to refer to that as checkpointing, and the fact that I can essentially checkpoint PC games kinda opens up a whole, another world of possibilities for me. Legitimately, that is something that I am so used to doing with games at this point because I've grown up with handheld gaming and portable gaming, that now being able to do that with the rest of my game library is gonna make me want to actually play more games on Steam. Not to mention that the games that I already played on Steam, I was able to just grab my save data because of the cloud save system that Steam has, and just pick up where I left off. And of course, that works the other way around. If I want to play, for example, Hi-Fi Rush on my PC, then I can just download the save. And the save data syncing is just so quick, so seamless, that I end up not really ever thinking about it. So that's kind of like the basic level of Steam Deck usage, I think. Because you can, just boot up a game and pretty much play it at its default settings. That being said, I do think this thing really starts to shine if you get some accessories for it. I do have a tempered glass screen protector on here, as well as a 512GB microSD card. Why is the port exposed? That kinda bothers me. I do also have a dock right here. It's Anker's specially made dock for things like the Steam Deck and ROG Ally. You can see there that I have an Ethernet cable and HDMI and a hub and my 3DS's USB charge cable. And again, because this is a PC, you can pretty much hook up whatever modern controllers that you have, and they should work no problem. You know what? Let's go ahead and actually hook this up to the Steam Deck. Bluetooth.
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
This going. It's hard to see the lights with my lighting. Searching for devices. Almost there. Yeah, there we go. So you can really set this up to be a Nintendo Switch, but for PC games. The Bluetooth chip in the Steam Deck should be able to be woken up by Bluetooth controllers if, again, this wants to work. There we go. So, it's woken up. It's still connecting here. There we go. So yeah, things might be just like a tad kludgy like that, to where it doesn't like immediately work, but if you're willing to deal with it, like this is such a game changer. Although, funny story, I had my Switch Pro controllers paired up to this, and then I put the controllers along with my Steam Deck in my bag, and sometime later, I was like, why is my bag just warm? It's because these controllers ended up getting pressed enough, or maybe it was just this one, got pressed enough to where it woke up the Steam Deck, and it was just on in my bag, and it drained like half the battery. So that's why I just make sure to turn Bluetooth off if I know I'm not going to be using controllers. Even though you can set this up to essentially be a Switch for PC games, it doesn't always work as smoothly when you're jumping between docked and undocked play in the middle of a game like you would on the Switch. Namely, the resolution might not immediately scale correctly. I don't know if there's a fix for that. Maybe I'll actually play around with that when I'm recording that B-roll. As far as I can tell, at least with Hi-Fi Rush and Sackboy, there's no way to change the resolution to be able to fill the screen if you're initially playing handheld and then you dock it. I think you have to just straight up reboot the game. And also, when you are using an external controller, the Steam Deck might still consider itself to be the Player 1 controller. So you may have to go into the quick access menu right here, and you'll have like a button to reassign controllers, and you may have to switch things around. But after that, it's fine. And yeah, because you're running the full, like, fat PC games on this, it takes a while for some games to boot up, which actually gives further credence to the thought of suspending a game and just keeping it running over the course of several days in sleep mode. So I haven't gone super in-depth with this, but when you're in a game, you can hit the quick access settings and do some individual adjustments for certain things. Granted, I don't know what exactly all of these do. I have limited the frame rate of games like Sackboy. Like, I don't want this game to really take any more effort to render frames over 60, because sometimes it does still even dip, so I don't want it to spend the extra resources trying to push frames that may not even be worth it. I do know that this FSR scaling can help certain games to look better and sharper at lower graphics options. That was pretty noticeable for Sackboy here. I usually just run it at the medium settings, and even though it was small, I did notice a little bit of a difference in terms of just the overall sharpness with the FSR scaling compared to the default linear. It's a little harder to see on the deck itself, but when I was playing this game docked, I did actually see a tangible difference. Although, your mileage may vary, you have to play around with settings, and also just look up settings as well if you really want to get the most out of this. This very much embodies a lot of what makes PC gaming, in the sense that, like, yeah, to really get the most out of it, you have to look up guides and tutorials about certain things. That being said, I am actually fine with playing on the default scaling and just using the in-game graphics options. Like, it makes a little bit of a difference for some games, but unless if I'm just misunderstanding it, which maybe I am, someone in the comments can correct me, I'm perfectly fine with how most games just run out of the box. Although if you really, truly wanted to get the most out of this, if we hold down the power button, we can switch to desktop, because at its core, the Steam Deck it's just a Linux computer. It is definitely worth mentioning that Linux and the anti-cheat software with a lot of multiplayer games out there just don't really jive at all, so it's probably not best to get the Steam Deck if that's what you mainly play. But yeah, I mean, if you really, truly wanted to, you can, watch YouTube and burn your brain with YouTube Shorts. And I imagine you could, even install LibreOffice and do some, actual work on here. Or just, load up Google Drive and just type up your essays. Legitimately, if your, say, college major only needed you to do just essays and some, basic presentation projects and just, basic stuff like that, this could legitimately just be your computer if you had a dock set up. And because this is a computer at the end of the day, yeah. So yes, a big reason why I got the Steam Deck is because it is an emulation powerhouse. So the way that I have things set up is that I have Emulation Station as part of my Steam library, and booting into it has all of the different systems that I have ROMs for. So I have, a lot of portable stuff here. I have a couple Wii games, PS2, I'll get to that, N64, and yeah, I mean, for example, Nintendo DS, if I boot up Mario & Luigi Partners in Time, which I actually ripped from a physical game card that I have. Oh wow, I forgot that it even loads up a save state here. Yeah, you can just play retro games just super easily once you have EmuDeck set up. What is the... Well, that's how you close the ROM. Oh, wait, no, that's how you close the lid. But yeah, with DS specifically, you can swap between all sorts of different screen layouts. So if you had a game that only used one screen and you're playing on the OLED, this is just, so, nice and big and sharp. It just looks gorgeous on the OLED screen. So the main reason why I wanted a more convenient form factor for emulating older, especially Nintendo games, is just because the looming thought of the next Nintendo system. How easily are the retro games going to transfer to that new system? It seems like with every new system, the retro offerings just reset, and if you were making progress in a certain game, nope, it's not on here. And when it is on here, your save data does not carry over. Hopefully what I just said ages badly. So having a essentially bespoke device that I never truly have to transfer or upgrade for the sake of emulation, they can all just live on here, I think it's gonna make me do a lot more retro gaming than I've probably ever done. Especially because, Nintendo never brought Galaxy 2 to the Switch in the 3D All-Stars pack, so guess what? I'm gonna play it on the deck. Granted, yes, it's a little bit of an awkward setup because Galaxy is so dependent on the pointer, so you really end up having to use the trackpad for said pointer, to the point where I have the click mapped to jump and the back paddle on my right middle finger to the B button, because that's the pointer and the B button are used a lot with Yoshi, and by default the left trigger right here lets you spin. But anyways, this is for sure going to be the way that I play retro games going forward. So I typically preferred Nintendo games growing up. I mean, I still do, but there's a couple specific PlayStation games that I just have super fond memories of. One of those being Downhill Domination. It is essentially a downhill BMX racing game with a combat system. Yeah. Woo! And also, a trick system kind of like the Tony Hawk games, except kind of not really. I say that, but I've never actually played a substantial amount of any Tony Hawk game. Upgraded to bottles. Yeah, so if you do enough tricks, your combat abilities upgrade, so I can throw water bottles, which are basically red shells. You know, I'm gonna stop there, because if I don't, I will be here for a while, and I won't actually get this video finished. But play Downhill Domination. There are some certain aspects of it that have not aged well. Like, of course, there are going to be some gameplay mechanics that haven't aged well, but also some cultural things in here. Like, this is very much a game from the early 2000s. Just keep that in mind while you play. So, for the past however many years, I've basically only played games on Switch. Sometimes I've played them on Steam, but for the most part, pretty much all of my gaming focus has been towards the Switch. So because now I have two systems in the equation again, I mean, sometimes I do play the 3DS, not frequently. It has, legitimately been challenging trying to balance playing games on here, like still trying to work through certain games, while also going back through and playing some of my Steam games that have just been rotting away on my library for years. Like, after I really got everything set up here on the Steam Deck, I went back and 100%ed Thousand Year Door on the Switch, as well as rolling credits on Metroid Prime, and now I'm trying to go back and roll credits on Tears of the Kingdom while also getting all the shrines. So yeah, there's gonna be times where I prioritize one over the other, but I think that's just what happens whenever you have multiple consoles. Like, you're going to gravitate towards one or the other for a while until you finish with certain games on that, then you'll go to another one for certain other games. It's just something that I'm not, like, quite used to yet. Like, yes, my main gaming device for years was the 3DS, and there has been some overlap between that and the Switch, but it really wasn't a whole lot. But now it's like I have so many games between these two, and the library of especially this is only going to get bigger. So it'll be interesting trying to see how I balance things going forward, especially when the next Nintendo system comes out. Anyways, that's about it for me for now. We'll see you later.